saying this. In order for us to understand dreams, there are certain things that we must be cognizant of. The primary thing is you must believe that there is a spiritual world. There's no two ways about it. You must believe that we coexist with spirits. And that's good spirits, that's evil spirits. And these spirits did not just appear from anywhere. In the spiritual world, which I also refer to as the invisible world, there are two kingdoms. There's the kingdom of light, and of course there's the kingdom of darkness. However, by no stretch of the imagination are these two kingdoms equal. Let's be clear here. The kingdom of darkness must submit to the kingdom of light. Why? Because God is sovereign. He is in control, and He rules over everything. So, as usual, for those of you that watch my videos or however you get my information, you know they call me the scripture man, and I love to back up what I say with the scripture. And I tell people all the time, if you come and discuss the Bible with me, and you don't have the scriptures, you are speaking Dutch, and I do not understand Dutch. No offense to those that do. So I want us to turn to Matthew chapter 12, and we're going to read from verse 22 to verse 28. Matthew chapter 12, we're going to read from verse 22 to verse 28. Amen, when you have it. There was brought unto him, being Jesus, one possessed with a devil, blind and dumb. And he being Jesus, healed him, insomuch that the blind and dumb both spoke and saw. And all the people were amazed and said, Is not this the son of David? Verse 24. But when the Pharisees, these are the church leaders now, when the Pharisees heard it, they said, This fellow do not cast out devils, but by Beelzebub, the prince of devils. So Jesus obviously performed a miracle here, and he healed this particular gentleman. And the Pharisees, which were literally the leaders of the church in that day, of course similar to the churches today now, so filled with themselves, so pompous and arrogant, and believe that everyone have to come through them to get through Jesus. So Jesus now coming on the scene and performing this miracle, which the church back then was not doing, which we see very little of today, they became concerned. But why were they really concerned? Well, they were concerned because if everybody now began to put their attention on this Jesus guy, then we can't get that offering and the $100 seed and $2,000 seed no more. So this is why it becomes an issue with them. So it really has nothing to do with the things of God as far as these Pharisees is concerned. And it says here, but the Pharisees, verse 24, heard it. They said, This fellow does do these things. This fellow do not cast out devils, but by Beelzebub, the prince of devils, meaning that he's using supernatural, demonic, occultic powers to do these things. Verse 25, and Jesus knew their thoughts and said unto them, listen very carefully now, because this is a principle. This is a spiritual principle. Verse 25, and Jesus knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to what? Desolation. And every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. Okay, verse 26. And if Satan casts out Satan, he is divided against himself. But listen to this piece now. How shall then, what it says next? His kingdom. So Satan has a kingdom. That's clear. So I didn't make that up. But Jesus is also giving a principle, all right? That if you want to shut down a marriage, you want to shut down a church, you want to shut down an organization, bring division in it. And that's a universal, spiritual, and physical principle. So So he says, if I'm working for the devil, all right, because you know they were accusing him of doing all this opium witchcraft and all this other stuff to bring about these so-called healings. And of course, Jesus is now giving them these principles. And we're fighting against each other, then eventually we'll part our separate ways. But he goes on further though, and watch what he says here. Let's jump to verse 28. He says, but if I cast out devils by the Spirit of God, then the what? Okay, so you just established the two kingdoms. You just established the two kingdoms. Now, Jesus didn't come here to preach about no kingdom in the scripture. He is now giving an illustration of the power in him invested by God to heal the sick. That's what he came to do. And mend the brokenhearted and so on and so forth. But the revelation embedded in the scripture, that's why I love the scriptures. You go there for one thing and find a million other things there. Embedded in the scripture, he's saying that there are two invisible kingdoms that you cannot see. I cannot direct you to the kingdom of God. I cannot say, okay, you want to go to the kingdom of darkness? Just bang around Buckingham Palace and you can see it right there, the yellow building. No. No. They're invisible and they're coexisting with us. Now, I know you're saying, now, okay, what is that good dreams? This is how a lot of good dreams. In fact, this is the basis of dreams. Because when we're dealing with dreams, you're dealing with the spiritual world. You're being revealed, or you're given preview or snapshots of things that has already happened. And the spiritual world is seeking your permission to manifest in the spiritual world. And I'm going to show you all that today. And this is why if you watch my videos, I constantly say to you, if you have horrific dreams, nightmares, don't waste no time. If you did not rebuke it or cancel it in the dream, immediately when you wake up, you begin to challenge it. Because whatever you did in that dream, it was your spirit man, the spirit and soul that came in agreement with whatever spirit it is. I'm going to show you all of this today. Which is going to bring us to this point, the law of manifestation. How do we get things from the spiritual world to physically present itself in the physical world? Well, there must be an agreement between us as humans and the spirits that we know. Now, I didn't plan to go here, but I'm going to give you this right now. You can write this down. Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 and verse 28. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, verse 28. And also, Psalms chapter 8, verses 4 to 6. And the underlying tone of both of these scriptures, again, a revelation. And what is this revelation? God said that he gave mankind dominion. Mankind would be us. Spirit, soul, body. Those three scriptures and many other places in the Bible you will find this. Nowhere in the scriptures you will find where God gave dominion and authority to spirits. Nowhere you will find this. So this now becomes a principle that in order for a spirit to manifest its will in this physical earth, listen to this carefully now, that spirit must consult with a human. You let that just marinate there a little bit for you. It expands upon it. God's rule for spirits is including himself. Let's be clear. This is his rule now. In order for God to do anything here, in order for Satan, in order for demons or angels, anyone, there has to be an agreement. There has to be a covenant. Let's speak a lot about that too. Same thing as an agreement. Now you may say, Kevin, no. God is all knowing, God is all powerful. He doesn't need man's permission. He doesn't need man's permission, but he made the rules. Yeah. Now what will challenge me on that, I don't know why. Because the Bible is littered with this evidence. Let's start with the Jericho wall. Why couldn't God come there and kick down the Jericho wall and do what he had to do? Why God couldn't go into Egypt children of Israel with supernatural power and transport them into the promised land. Why every time he has to do stuff, he consults with Moses, he consults with Abraham, he consults with Joshua? Why is he doing this? Because he's obeying his people. I need someone to agree with me. God is in what? Spirit. Write this down, Matthew 4:24. God is a spirit. But in order for him to get things done, he needs the cooperation of mankind to bring about the manifestation of, listen carefully, what is already done in the spiritual realm. You hear me say that a lot. The spiritual realm is a realm of completion. I know you hear this term all the time in church, God getting ready to do this, God ain't getting ready to do that. Now, if you say to me, God is about to manifest what he has already done, then I got you. I understand what you're saying to me. But the spiritual realm, I'm going to give you an abundance of evidence of it. The spiritual realm is a completed realm. God isn't under no pressure. God isn't trying to figure out why all of these bad wars and gay rights and this right and all. No pressure. I'm going to repeatedly show you this. The Bible says he knows the end from where? The beginning. So nothing is by surprise. The only thing he's looking for us to do is agree with his rules. Because what his rules are going to do is not just going to give us a prosperous life, and this is what you really need to hear, especially for those of you who do not know what your purposes or callings are or your gifts are. Well, following the rules are going to automatically take you there. Kevin, I don't know if I'm called to be a singer. I don't know if I'm called to be a teacher like you. I don't know if I'm called to be whatever. Well, that's no problem. Read the scriptures and follow the rules. The rules are like a map. And even though you don't realize that as you follow the rules, you know why? Because with the rules, you're being rewarded. Every step of the way as you do it. And every time you disobey the rules, you're not going to go backward in life. And many people, that's basically the principle for many people who are not achieving success. They're going backward because they're neglecting the rules of God. So far we discovered that there are two kingdoms. Right? And what we're going to go on next, because I'm just giving you the basics of dreams, we're going to go on next is the creation. And I'm going to bring in all what I just said to you as part of these components, that's what God has done to exercise his rules, and his laws in the earth. Now remember I told you in Genesis 4 verse 24 that God is a what? Spirit. Right? Now, in Genesis chapter 1 verse 1, you can write it down, you don't have to turn here. It says God created the heavens and the what? The earth. Right? God created the heavens and the earth. God is a what though? Right. So no human hands created this earth. No human tools, right? No construction companies, no Great Britain construction company, UK construction, none of that, right? So a spirit had to use spiritual means to create the earth. You will agree with that, right? Okay, well if you agree with that, then you must also agree that everything, the earth in its raw state from the beginning of time, everything has its origin or its initiation where? In the spiritual realm. We're going to prove this also. So the Bible says, in the beginning, God created. Write down the word created for me. From Genesis 1 verse 1. Because that's an awesome word. And the Hebrew word for that word is bara, B-A-R-A. And when I did my study of this word, I was just amazed to see what its true definition is, because it does not mean creation as in to manipulate something. For example, I can take this here, saw this off, and get some heat and manipulate it and bend it into a circle, meaning that the material already existed for me to do that. But that word there, bara, which means create, listen what it means, to make something out of nothing.
Amen.
And this is what I read that I just got chills, because this is the power of our God. He don't need existing material to bring something into existence. So the Bible says he created. So when he created the earth, but how, Kevin? You're still not explaining to me how when he spoke it into existence. Write the scripture down. John chapter 1. verses 1 to 3. What does it say? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. I love it. You turn this. I can't remember the last piece. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. I like verse 3. Listen carefully. All things were what? Made by whom? Him. Who is Him? God. Who is God? And what? Spirit. All things were made by Him, the Spirit. And without the Spirit, zero. I love in Colossians chapter 1, I think from verse 16 somewhere, says basically the same thing. All the things were made for Him, and by Him alone nothing was made. All things consist of Him, meaning that it needs His power to exist. Now let me get you all sanctified folks sorted out here. He's not just limiting this statement to things that are good. Satan needs His power to exist. Amen. The kingdom of darkness needs the same power to exist. Amen. If you were to tell me otherwise, then you are simultaneously saying to me there are two equal powers.
Yes.
And that cannot happen.
Yes.
I'm trying to reserve myself.
No.
I get excited about it. So, in John chapter 1, verse 1 to 3, it now begins to explain how this God, this Spirit, is now taking no materials and forging the earth, forging Mars, done with that, and forging Mercury and Venus. We're going to forge the sun. No materials to do with it. No materials at all. But where is all of this happening from? This is my point. Which world? Spiritual world. I want you to go to Hebrews chapter 11, verse 3. We're going to bring more evidence to this. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 3. And here's what it says. Through faith we understand that the worlds, plural, that the worlds were framed, made, or created by what? The word of who? God. God spoke the earth into existence. God spoke the sun into existence. God spoke the galaxies into existence. He spoke the stars. It's all in Genesis. He says, let there be light. Let there be this and that. But what does the word let mean? The word let means to transfer something that already exists to somewhere else. Where were these things coming from? The spiritual world. I hope I'm proving my point here. If you don't believe, you can marry another later. Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God. Listen to this carefully. So that things which are seen. Now to understand the scripture, we need to go back to the origin of creation. No cars, no telephones, no planes, just the raw material. Mountains and the grass and the animals and so on. So the scripture is saying here, through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. Meaning that trees didn't exist before God creation, and then He took one of the trees and manipulated it into an apple tree and manipulated it into an orange tree. No, everything from the spiritual world He created out of nothing and brought it in. I'm giving you this detailed foundation because I want you to walk away from here with a solid understanding, a spiritually based understanding, so nobody can come talk nonsense to you. Because you got the scriptures. This ain't something Kevin make up. And that's why I'm giving you scripture after scripture to always validate the scriptural rules and the scriptural laws. So we understand so far that this entire physical realm that we live in was produced, was manufactured, was created, yes, by God, but from the where? Spiritual world. The invisible God, in His endless wisdom, began to speak things into existence. He thou began to form or create the world out of no existing materials. Zero. And he did all of this and put us on this earth. I'm going to show you now how in this world that God has created, the spiritual world which has created the physical world, I'm going to prove to you now how everything in the spiritual world is completed. I love this, man. And what it tells you, when something is completed, how many of you when you were in school, when you had a project to do, and you're frustrated because time is winding down and Lord, I'm going to finish this project. You feel so frustrated, you put it off so many times and you just go mad. There are those who completed their project and what they are on easy street. Well, this is how it is with God. God is under no pressure. God is in his heaven scratching his head. Why is Kevin doing this? Why is Deidre doing this? Why did you just follow me? No! The Bible says, and you're going to have an appreciation for the scripture. He knows the end from where? The beginning. He knows it now. You may be getting married today, or you may fuck some guy tomorrow, or some female, and you have zero knowledge where that relationship is going to go. But God says, I know the end of this from right here. How come, Mr. God? Because everything is completed in the spiritual world. Let's go to Isaiah 46. We're going to read from verse 9 to verse 10. I'm not going to do faster. Yeah. Isaiah 46. We're going to read from verse 9 to verse 10. And listen to what it says. Isaiah 46, verse 9 to verse 10 says, remember the former or the past things of old, for I am God, and there is none else. I am God, and there is none like me. Now watch what this God does. Declaring the end from where? The beginning. And from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasures. Now let me tell you why this is so powerful. Many of you probably have pending decisions to make. Many of you want to know, what do I do with this rebellious kid? What do I do with this wayward wife or husband? Lord, this job is just so frustrating. Rather than crying out, you get to yourself and you go to prayer, not giving God a laundry list of what you've done, what you want. No, your prayer is going to be, God, let whatever you have counseled yourself on about me before the foundation of the world, let that come to pass right now in my life. Because see, and this is the awesomeness of serving this God. He isn't like mankind improvising or making up as he go along. No, he is right here chilling right out, waiting on you to consult him, waiting on you to say, Mr. God, okay, should I be with her? No, move on. Don't cry about this. I've already consulted myself on this. I've already sought you out from day one. But Kevin, what does that have to do with dreams? Let me sing a little bit. Isaiah 40, verse 3. Isaiah 40, verse 3 says, I have declared the former things from the beginning, and they've been forth out of my mouth. And I showed them, I did them suddenly. And they what? Came to pass. They better come to pass. God planned. No one can stop it. No one can stop it. And God wants to reveal these plans to you. In fact, there are certain revelations, otherwise known as mystery and secrets, that he has reserved for his people. Write the scripture down. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and Deuteronomy chapter 29 and verse 29. Deuteronomy 29 and verse 29 says, the secret things belong unto the Lord our God. Listen to this piece now. But those things that are revealed, revelation, belong unto us, that's the believers, and our children. That's scripture. So there are times when you get in a bog in life where you don't know whether to go left or right, you're confused. Father, reveal the secret concerning the situation right now. I'm giving you great ones. It's a bonus. So what I'm trying to teach you in this phase of dream interpretation and so on is how do we glean from our source? How do we glean from the manufacturer? Just like if you have a vehicle, you bought a brand new vehicle, you bought a brand new vacuum cleaner, you bought a brand new refrigerator or stove or radio. Did not it come with a manual? And the idea of that manual, if you follow these specific rules, you will get peak performance out of this device.
Yes.
But we are not getting peak performance because we're not following the rules. But there's a law for that. Write this down. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 25. What does it say? Proverbs chapter 16, verse 25 says that there is a way that seems, look, appearance. But the scripture now makes a prophecy. It says, but the end thereof, or the end of that way, is destruction. Some translation says death. So the scripture, that's why I love scripture, because they're like prophecies. God is saying, look here, if you follow this rule, just because I know the end from the beginning, that's what that is, I'm going to share some of this with you. So read my rules. Now watch my rules right here. You see this guy, you like him, tall, dark, handsome, got little bow legs, all this other stuff you like that? He said, now read the scripture. He said, there's a way that they appear, that may look right. You could see him while you're going to banquets together. You could see your little sporty car, your nice hair doing, riding a motorbike, and your hair doing all that. When you ain't see on the road, he got like 400 other girlfriends in and whatever. You know? Right. You will see yourself doing life imprisonment for killing him for doing nonsense. So he said, there's a way that seemed, appear, would give the appearance of being right. But the end thereof is destruction. Then he comes back again, write the scripture down. Proverbs 19, verse 21. Proverbs 19, verse 21 says that there are many devices or ideas in a man's heart. There are many things that you and I want to do. The second or part B of that scripture says, but only the counsel of God shall prevail or be of any value. So what does that say to me? All of what I'm saying you should convince you more why you have to lean on the manufacturer of your life. Father, let your counsel prevail. Father, strip me of my will, strip me of how I feel it should be done. Take those things away from me and institute your counsel for my life that you have sorted out before the foundation of the world. Now let's prove this. Let's prove this. Let's go to Ephesians chapter 1. Ephesians chapter 1. And we're going to see here what I've been telling you all along. You have it? Ephesians chapter 1, verse 3 and 4. Listen what it says. Blessed be the Lord our God, who has blessed us, circle that word blessed, with all, what's his prefix? Spiritual things. Heavenly places, or the spiritual realm, or the spiritual world. Verse 4, who has chosen us in him, when? Before the womb of the world. Let me break this down for you. I told you earlier in this teaching that God, who is a spirit, spoke the physical worlds into existence. He spoke creation into existence. But this scripture, which I love so much, is now making unequivocally clear to us that before he even made the worlds, before he created whatever else, he said that he sought my people who are about to place all these words out first. So the Bible says he has blessed us. I know English major. I know any word that ends with ed speaks of what? The past. So I'm telling you again, the spiritual world is complete. The spiritual world is a finished work. He says that he has blessed us with some spiritual blessings. That's what you read? No. You read what? All spiritual blessings. But this is the part what I know you missed. Spiritual, he prefixed with blessings. What does that mean? That your blessings already exist, but they're not tangible. Yeah. Y'all listen to me. Don't take the time for me. You're blessed. You listen to me, man. You don't got to spin around 7 times. You don't got to kick down the past. You got to do none of that to get your blessing. You don't have to do none of that. Your blessing exists even as I am speaking to you right now. Amen. Hallelujah. But where are they located? In the spiritual world. Yes. God says, before I created the foundation of the earth to rest this earth on, before I got there, I saw them with Tom, Harry, Mary, Sue, Kevin, Peter, Margaret, Leora. I already sorted them out with their blessings before I finish up this earth to bring them on. Amen. Amen. Nowhere in that scripture where God says, now when I sort you all out, I'm going to get a few leaders and they're going to teach you how to spin around and teach you how to cabbage patch and teach you how to do all this nonsense. Where do you read this mess? Mess with me? No. No. He says, I've already done that for you. Your next question to me should be, Kevin, how do I access these blessings? Yes. How do I get it? Kevin, you sound good. You got me jumping up and down and you sound good. But I've been hearing the same thing from some preachers too. How do I get them? Now, remember I told you earlier. In order for things of the spiritual realm to be manifested in this physical realm, there must be an agreement or a covenant. Yes. Once the covenant is formed between the human and the spirit, then the manifestation is only a matter of time before it becomes physical. Turn to Deuteronomy chapter 28. Deuteronomy chapter 20, beginning at verse 1, right? Now, all of us at some point heard, if you want God to heal you. The Lord is saying to me, sow in faith, hallelujah. You have to sow £1,000. And I see God turning that thing around. Wouldn't think so. The more you become acquainted with the rules, the more angry you're going to become for sitting under those people. Yeah. Because they diverted you from the manufacturing book, the book that gives you everything to prosper. Yeah. Watch what God says to us how to access the blessings. Deuteronomy 20 verse 1. And he's talking to the people of God. This is the children of Israel. That's us. He says, and it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto who? The voice of the Lord thy God, and to observe and to do what? All his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God, listen to me to start off. I'm going to what? Set thee on high. This is going to be the red flag or the evidence that the blessing that you are asking for, if you follow my rules, if you hearken, if you observe to do all that I've asked you to do, he said, then, conjunction. Then, circle of word. Before that he says if, and he says then. Meaning that, yes, the blessings are in place, my healing is in place, the spirit of poverty to be broken is in place, breaking it, all of that is in place. So he says, Kevin, in order to get that, you must come in the room with my word. And how do I do that? Obey, hearken, listen. Now make practical what I've been saying in this book. And what does he say here? Watch what he says here now. Verse 2. And all these what? Blessings shall come. He said, now all of these blessings will now become physical. Why? Because when you do the word of God, by default, you are in agreement with the word of God. It's automatic. So I have to be worrying what was going to happen next. I now do what he did. And I speak what I want to see according to the word of God. Father, I thank you for that house that I own already. I thank you that I'm owning this house debt-free. I thank you that a man and woman will come into my life and bless me beyond measure. I think that I will be a blessing to others just the way that you bless me. I think that I will never ever experience or have another relationship with the spirit of poverty. Amen. I divorce the spirit of poverty. Amen. I come against frustration. I break the ancestral and generational curses of divorce, backwardness, frustration, sadness, anxiety, panic attack, depression. I reject it according to the word of God. Father God, your word declares in 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7, you did not give me the spirit of fear, but of love, power. I claim soundness of mind right now. See, I'm inviting the blessings to my life. I'm agreeing with the word of the living God. I get that junk out of my life. My friends that were talking nonsense, out of here, out of here, you got many Christians in there. I want to hear what the rule book says. What does the rule say? So God have everything in position for you, and you don't have to purchase it. But nobody start to tell you so this and so that, or purchase this vial on, or spray some Lysol in your mouth. You don't have that time for that mess. It's contrary to the word of God. And that's the reason why you are where you are. So what you believe the other day, the preacher picked up a lady in body slammer. So I wrote a little note and the Facebook thing. And I said, I obviously need to be corrected because I thought we did not fight against flesh and blood. But this is what happens when you don't know the rules. Okay? When these guys come to you, pray, they don't pray anymore, they don't say Jesus anymore, they hit you in the forehead. Boom, boom, boom. This is a kung fu class, and you can listen. We're laughing, but people who are rule book believe that stuff is real, not knowing that these guys are pushing spirits in them. Can I have 5 minutes? I could go on, I can continue. Okay, yeah. All right. I thought it was 5 minutes. Okay. Yes, no 5 minutes. Right, so all of the blessings are in place for you. And accessing these blessings, you will follow the rules and the laws and the principles of God. Now, I want to show you evidence in the Bible where it's going to prove to you again that the spiritual world is where everything is already been completed. And I'm going to show you some scriptures. I'm going to give you some deep revelation. I want you to turn to Numbers chapter 21. Numbers chapter 21. And we're going to read from verse 33 to verse 35. Numbers chapter 21. We're going to read from verse 33 to verse 35. And here's what it says. In Numbers chapter 21, beginning at verse 33, it says, and they turned, this is the children of Israel now, and went up by the way of Bashan, and Og, the king of Bashan, went on against them, he and all his people, to the battle of Edrei. Now what is happening here is the children of Israel wanted to take a shortcut to the promised land. So they sent messengers, I believe, to Og, the king of Bashan, to ask for a shorter passage through this particular town. He wasn't hearing this story at all. So he sent his men out to go and deal with Israel, to kill them. But listen to verse 34. And the Lord said unto Moses, Moses is now consulting his manufacturer as to what should I do now. I didn't come here to start no trouble. And the Lord said unto Moses, fear him not, for I have, what does that word say? And we just established that any word ending with ed speaks of the past. But Moses they haven't fought us yet. So what do you mean you delivered them in the minor? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes. So God is speaking from a spiritual perspective. This is completed spiritually. Now what he's saying next is, you want us to manufacture physically? Now you do, I tell you to do. So he said, now go pursue them, and you go and pursue. The spirit realm is coming in agreement with the physical realm. And you are about to see a victory like none other. Listen to me, yeah, this getting me so excited. When you understand the rules, when you understand the principle, no one can talk no mess to you no more. When you know the rules, you don't need someone to fly from Timbuktu to come talk to you. No, once you understand them, you can do this yourself. So the scripture says in verse 24, the Lord said unto Moses, fear him not, for I have delivered him into thine hand, and all his people and his land, and thou shalt do to him as thou didst unto Sihon, king of the Amorites, which dwelt at Hezron. God said, I have already done this. This is a finished, completed deal in the spiritual world. We are here waiting on you to execute. Now let me give you further evidence of this in the New Testament. Jesus told his disciples, the people of God, he says, whatever you bind on earth, present tense, has already been there. Bound. Bound is past tense. Whatever you loose, present tense here, has already been loosed easy in heaven. Heaven is waiting on us. Yes. Yes. The spiritual world is waiting on the people of this earth to come in agreement with the word of God to see the manifestation of the things that he has promised. Judges chapter 7, verses 7 to 9. Judges chapter 7, verses 7 and to verse 9 says, and the Lord said unto Gideon, by the 300 men that lacked will I save you, and deliver the Midianites into thine hand, and let all the other people go, every man unto his place. So the people took victuals in their hands and their trumpets, and he set all the rest of Israel, every man unto his tent, and retained those 300 men, and the host of Midian was beneath him in the valley. And it came to pass the same night that the Lord said unto him, who's him? Gideon. Arise, get thee down unto the host. I have what? He doesn't fought with the Midianites again. In fact, he's instructing him to go down there to see what their plans are. But simultaneously, he's saying to them, go, you go, but I tell you, before you even get there, before you throw the first spear, before you put up the first shield to block their spears, this here is a done deal. Amen. In the spiritual world, this is finito. So you see here once again, this is a done deal. He says, for I have delivered, past tense, for I have delivered them into thine hand. Let's go to Judges, last one, and then we'll wrap up again. Judges chapter 1, verses 1 to 2. Judges chapter 1, verses 1 to 2. And it says, now after the death of Joshua it came to pass that the children of Israel asked the Lord, saying, who shall go up for us against the Canaanites first to fight against them? And the Lord said, Judah shall go up. Behold, behold what? Behold who? Behold, I have what? Delivered. The man just asking the question. form of strategy yet, but the Jehovah Elohim, Jehovah El Shaddai, Jehovah Gabor, the God of war, is telling them well in advance, I have already shut them down in the realm of the Spirit. All I need you to do is to follow the instructions. Every time God is about to manifest whatever you've been asking for or whatever has been prophesied to you, there are some instructions that are going to come.
Yes.
The instructions, if you follow them, means that I'm in agreement with the word of God, and simultaneously you are now giving access for that blessing that was once in the spiritual realm to manifest here in the physical realm. Are you following me so far?
Yes.
Does it make sense?
Yes.
So you hold the key to your destiny. No pastor, no teacher. Our job is to direct you radio. Every pastor, bishop, teacher should be doing what I'm doing right now. Directing you not to me, but better, here, giving you the rules. Not to Glory Kevin. Kevin is just a conduit vessel. Kevin is a traffic. Every preacher, teacher, every apostle should be a director in the spiritual realm, directing you here to the scriptures.
Amen.
Ready?
Yes. Amen.
I got no superpowers on spider web. But Batman came. Same power would you seek, I seek in here.
Yes.
My job is to always direct you here. A good apostle, a good pastor, a good teacher. You want to know how to determine if they're good? How much of this they're directing you to? One more minute. Okay. I'm going to abuse that 1 minute right now. So as we can see so far, everything is done in the spiritual world. God has already completed the spiritual world. God formed everything from the spiritual world. I had to give you that lengthy illustration because I need you to have the understanding that in order for you to be successful in dream interpretation and overall your spiritual life, you have to have a command of the spiritual and understanding. Okay, it's not hocus pocus, Holy Spirit, devil, Jesus, and all this other stuff. That stuff is good as basic, but you need to know more. You need to go more in depth of what these things are about. Because when you are attacked by forces or whatever, invisible, spiritual, whatever, you understand that this is a spiritual fight. Now, having said all of that, the scripture in Ephesians 6 and 12, where it says that we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, now makes sense to us. Because I realize now there is a world that is parallel or coexists with this physical world, and that is the spiritual world. And there's an ongoing battle. People believe that when they become a Christian, that spiritual warfare just started. Spiritual warfare started from the day you were born. In fact, before the day you were born. Before you did it, I think about 30 more seconds. And how is this? Because the Bible tells us way back in the book of Exodus chapter 20, verses 2 to 5, when he says, you must serve no other God. You must bow down to no other God. He says, in the day that you do this, he said, I will visit the iniquities of your fathers upon the children, your immediate children, and right down to the third and fourth generation. So before you were even born, you were being contended and contested with demonic forces because of the things that your ancestors did. So when you were born, when your parents gave birth to you, the curses were there waiting on you. And they had a legal right to be there. And the legal right was because mama and daddy participated in that, according to the law, that I now become the minute I'm born, I must do this. And I spend the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 45, 50, 60, 70 years if I live that long, oppressed, sick, broke, busted, disgusted, cannot be trusted, putting somewhere in the corner eating mustard. But I cannot go no further. So I'm going to end right there, and we're going to get deeper and we take our break.
Wow.